And welcome to part 3 of Living with Wisdom. I really have been having fun here, and I pray that you've been having fun too, and that you got some nuggets that you can live with your life and live it more authentically and more fearlessly. That, you know, a lot of times people point us down the wrong road and we are just living our life in fear. We don't want to go out and do that which we were meant to do. So I hope that, you know, you got some affirmations here like I did when I started reading this book. So part 3, we are going to start with verse 27. What is a good man but a bad man's teacher? What is a bad man but a good man's job? A knower of the truth travels without leaving a trace, speaks without causing harm, gives without keeping an account. The door he shuts, though having no lock, cannot be opened. The knot he ties, though using no cord, cannot be undone. Be wise and help all things impartially, abandoning none, waste no opportunities. This is called following the light. What is a true man but a bad man's? What's a good man but a bad man's teacher? What is a bad man but a good man's job? If the teacher is not respected and the student not cared for, confusion will arise, however clever one is. This is the great secret. As I preserve my original qualities, I can do or govern anything. I live with radical humility. Verse 28. Know the strength of man, but keep a woman's care. Be a valley under heaven. If you do, the constant virtue will not fade away. One will become like a child again. Know the white, keep the black, be the pattern of the world. To be the pattern of the world is to move constantly in the path of virtue without erring a single step, and to return again to the infinite. One who understands splendor while holding to humility acts in accord with eternal power. To be the fountain of the world is to live the abundant life of virtue. When the formed is formed into objects, its original qualities are lost. If you preserve your original qualities, you can govern anything. Truly, the best governor governs less. There is a time for being ahead. There is a time for being behind. There is a time for being in motion. There's a time for being at rest. There is a time for being vivacious, and there's a time to be exhausted. Verse 29, do you think you can take over the universe and improve it? If I do not believe it can be done. Everything under heaven is a scared vessel and cannot be controlled. Trying to control leads to ruin. Trying to grasp, we lose. Allow your life to unfold naturally. Know that it too is a vessel of perfection, just as you breathe in the breath out. There is a time for being ahead, a time for being behind, a time for being in motion, a time for being at rest, a time for being vivacious, and a time for being exhausted, a time for being safe, and a time for being in danger. To the sage, all of life is a movement toward perfection. So, what need has he for the excessive, the extravagant, or the extreme? Whatever strains with forces will soon decay. I eschew any and all forms of violence. I take the line of least resistance in all of my actions. Verse 30. No one who would guide a leader of men in the uses of life will warn him against the uses of arms for conquest. Weapons often turn up on the wheeler. Where arms settles, nature offers nothing but barriers and thorns. After a great battle has been fought, the land is cursed, the crops fail, the earth lies stripped of its motherhood. After you have attained your purpose, you must not parade your success. You must not boast of your ability. You must not feel proud. You must rather regret that you had not been able to prevent the war. You must never think of conquering others by force. Whatever strains with force will soon decay. It is not attuned to the way. Not being attuned to the way, it ends come all too soon. I allow my highest nature to come forward by being love to the places where I used to live and hated. Verse 31. Weapons are the tools of violence. All decent men detest them. Therefore, followers of the Torah never use them. Arms serve evil. They are the tools of those who oppose wise rules. Use them only as a last resort. For peace and quiet are dearest to the man's heart, to the decent man's heart, and to him even a victory is no cause for rejoicing. He who thinks triumph beautifully is one with a will to kill, and one with a will to kill shall never prevail upon the world. It is a good sign when man's higher nature comes forward, a bad sign when his lower nature comes forward. With the slater of multitudes, we have grief and sorrow. Every victory is a funeral. When you win a war, you celebrate by mourning. I trust in the perfect goodness of the Torah to guide and direct me wherever it will. I allow my thoughts and ideas to be carried by the great wave of the Torah. Verse 32. The eternal Torah has no name. Although simple and subtle, no one in the world can master it. If kings and lords could harness them, the 10,000 things would naturally obey. Heaven and earth would rejoice with the dripping of sweet dew. Everyone would live in harmony, no, not by official decree, but by their own goodness. Once the whole is divided, the parts need names. There are already enough names. Know when to stop. Know when reason sets limits to avoid peril. Rivers and streams are born of the ocean, and all creation is born of the Torah. Just as all waters flow back to become the ocean, all creation flows back to become the Torah. I am replacing my desire for power over others with my efforts. I understand and master myself in any and all situations. The things I love, I have to learn to leave alone. Verse 33. One who understands others has knowledge. One who understands himself has wisdom. Mastering others requires force. Mastering yourself needs strength. If you realize that you have enough, you are truly rich. One who gives himself to his position surely lives long. One who gives himself to the Torah lives certainly forever. By not claiming greatness, I achieve greatness. Verse 34. The great way is universal. It can apply to the left or the right. All things depend on it for life. Even so, it does not take possession of things. It accomplishes its purpose. It makes no claim for itself. It covers all creatures like the sky, but does not dominate them. All things return to it as their home, but it does not lord it over them. Thus it may be called great. The sage imitates this conduct, by not claiming greatness. The sage achieves greatness. When I look for it, there is nothing to see. When I listen to it, there is nothing to hear. When I use it, it cannot be exhausted. This is the great toe. Verse 35. All men will come to him who keeps to the one. They flock to him and receive no harm, for in him they find peace, security, and happiness. Music and dining are passing pleasures, yet they cause people to stop. How bland and insipid are the things of the world when one compares them to the toe. When you look for it, there is nothing to see. When you listen for it, there's nothing to hear. When you see it, when you use it, it cannot be exhausted. I seek out obscurity by suppressing any desire for attention or recognition. Verse 36. You should want to contain something. You must deliberately let it expand. Should you want to awaken something, you must deliberately let it grow strong. Should you want to eliminate something, you must deliberately allow it to flourish. Should you want to take something away, you must deliberately grant it access. The lesson here is called the wisdom of obscurity. The gentle outlasts the strong. The obscured outlasts the obvious. Fish cannot leave deep waters, and country's weapon should be displayed. The toe does nothing, but leaves nothing undone. Verse 37. The toe does nothing, but leaves nothing undone. If powerful men could center themselves in it, in the whole world would be transformed. By itself, it is natural rhythms. When life is simple, pretense fall away. Our essential nature shines through. By not wanting, there is calm. And the world still straightened itself. When there is silence, one finds the anchor of the universe within oneself. I trust my essential nature. I let go of all polarities, and I live in the invincible oneness of the toe goodness. And godness are one, and I trust who I am, a child of God. Verse 38. A truly good man is not aware of his goodness, and is therefore good. A foolish man tries to be good, and therefore is not good. The master does nothing, yet leaves nothing undone. The ordinary man is always doing things, yet many more are left to be done. The highest virtue is to act without a sense of self. The highest kindness is to give without condition. The highest justice is to see without preference. Then, when the toe is lost, there is goodness. When goodness is lost, there is morality. When morality is lost, there is ritual. Ritual is the husk of true faith, the beginning of chaos. The great master follows his own nature and not the trappings of life. It is said, he stays with the fruit and not the fluff. He stays with the firm and not the flimsy. He stays with the true and not the false. I am a piece of the whole, and I act in accordance with the whole of the toe. Verse 39, these things from ancient times arise from one. The sky is a whole and clear. The earth is a whole and firm. The spirit is a whole and full. The 10,000 things are whole, and the country is upright. All these are in virtue of the whole. When man interferes with the toe, the sky becomes filthy. The earth becomes depleted. The equilibrium crumbles. Creatures become extinct. Therefore, nobility is rooted in humility. Loftiness is based on loneliness. This is why noble people refers to themselves as alone, lacking, and unworthy. The pieces of a chariot are useless unless they work in accordance with the whole. A man's life brings nothing unless he lives in accordance with the whole universe. Playing one's part in accordance with the universe is truly humility. Truly, too much honor means no honor. It is not wise to shine like jade and resound like stone chimes. I bow to all creating power, from which I came and to which I am returning. Verse 40, returning is the motion of the toe. Yielding is the way of the toe. The 10,000 things are born of being. Being is born of non-being. By following the way, I do not become complicated, extraordinary, or prominent. Rather, I become subtle, simple, and uncomplicated. Verse 41, a great scholar hears of the toe and begins diligently practice. A meddling scholar hears of the toe and retains some and loses some. An inferior scholar hears of the toe and roars with ridicule. Without that laugh, it would not be the toe. So, there are constructive sayings on this. The way of illumination seems dark. Going forward seems like a retreat. And easy way seems hard. True power seems weak. True purity seems tarnished. True clarity seems obscured. The greatest art seems unsophisticated. The greatest love seems indifferent. The greatest wisdom seems childish. The toe is hidden and nameless. The toe alone nourishes and brings everything into fulfillment. I release attachment to all objects, status, people, and institutions. I gain by losing. I lose by gaining. 42. The toe gave birth to one. One gave birth to two. Two gave birth to three, and three begot the 10,000 things. The 10,000 things carry yen and embrace yan. They achieve harmony by becoming these forces. People suffer at the thought of being without parents, without food, without worth. Yet it's the very way that kings and lords once described themselves. For one gain by losing and loses by gaining. What others thought I teach, the violent do not die, and natural death. That is my fundamental teaching. The softest of all things overrides the hardest of all things. The softest of all things overrides the hardest of all things. That without substance enters where there is no space. Hence I know the value of non-action. Teaching without words, performing without action. Few in the world can grasp it. That is the master's way. Rare indeed are those who obtain the bounty of the world. Thank you so much, and I hope that you got something out of this. Be well. I'll see you next time.